Our next speaker is Paramjeet Bhogal. And Paramjeet's a teacher and applied educational psychologist, so maybe you can tell us something about cognitive dissonance. And he's also from the National Education Union. He's going to talk about academic freedom in schools and so forth. Thank you very much, Paramjeet.
Thank you, colleagues. If Deepa was nervous, I think I'm sweating, but it's been just great. And what I want to do, I'm going to cut down what I'm going to say because I think it might be really useful for people to kind of have questions and things. And the two things I want to really say is one is to give my solidarity to David, but also solidarity to the people of Palestine. And in terms of unions, one of the things we can do is actually it's the collective support in terms of international solidarity. And I'm really proud of the National Education Union and the links it has with many countries, including Palestine, and the work it does in terms of supporting educated children and families. But I'm also, I just want to touch upon something that the National Education Union did. We, just before the end of last year, we passed a motion on a guidance that was passed by the government on relationship, sex, and health education. And people might think, well, why did the Education Union do something like this? It was a piece of guidance that the government wanted to push through, which essentially the impact of that would have been to actually cut down freedom of speech, actually to cut down on anything to do with talking about things like anti-racism, Black Lives Matter, capitalism, etc. And I think that is no accident if you kind of put it into the context of what's happening in terms of universities and across the globe, where we have national states that squash free speech. And the union passed the motion. And the reason for passing it was because, and it's something which Jonathan touched on, I mean, cognitive, so I'm an educational psychologist, but I'm also, in terms of the work I do, education should not be just about facts and figures. They're useful and they're important, but what's more important is critical and deep thinking skills, because freedom of speech squashes all those. And the way to get a better world is in children is we take them through things like social emotional development, motivation, cognitive development, linguistic development, creative development, and reflective responses. Because if we want a better world, we don't restrict what we talk about, what we discuss, we open it up. And if we don't do that with little children, with young people who in the end come to the universities, who in the end become academics and thinkers, then if we squash that in primary and nursery stages, then we have a world in which there is no freedom of speech, and their thinking and the possibility of those children actually affecting the narrow curriculum, a colonial kind of curriculum that we have in this country, rather than an anti-racist, a decolonized curriculum, which would, in the words of Gandhi, who said, the greatness of humanity is not in being human, but it's actually in being humane. And I think so that I'm very proud of the National Education Union in terms of passing a motion, which for the first time ever, it would have put in place a legal challenge, and the government backed down. So at the moment, they've retracted what they were going to do. And I just want to sort of finish on that note in terms of offering solidarity, and collectively across the unions, we can offer support and we can work together. And I think it works. It works. It really does work. So I'll end it there. And I just want to say thank you very much for inviting me and for the people here. It's just been absolutely amazing listening to just a wonderful collection of speakers that you've had. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Paramjeet, and thank you to the NEU. I think you're probably the official opposition at the moment. So